Mission Planner 101. Mission Planner is an open source software, a very popular one, which is actually being used by a lot of makers, drone experts, but also people who just want to shoot and program and play with the wonder of robotics and drones. Not necessarily just drones, also robotics, robotic submarines, boats, and others. Okay, let's start and see what Mission Planner is all about. So let's start and see. I see a map of the world, and for some reason, I put my home position in Greenland. There's no point of doing that. Let's go to someplace more familiar, say to Florida. So Mission Planner allows me to get a map of the world. The source of the map could come from Google Maps or here or other sources of maps. I want all to denote that there are reddish circles. Those reddish circles are no-flight zones, meaning places you are not allowed to fly your drones or your airplane or whatever. Mostly they're associated with military bases or just airports where drones or any type of flying stuff are not allowed. So even though we just play in simulation and we just play with the map of the world, we want to avoid flying with drones. I want to emphasize that if you use DJI drones, then commonly they have their no-flight zones, meaning a list of all the airports and the places you're not allowed to fly your drones already embedded in your phone or in your drone, or in the remote control, or all together. In other platforms, it's all about the responsibility of the one who play with the drone or control it or write the program. But in order to keep it as simple, as safe as possible, whenever you see a no-flight zone, take a few miles away from it, and then so this is a no-flight zone, and I will take I don't know, like a few miles away from there and go to this coast, and then we can play here. In order to get familiar with Mission Planner, let's start by looking for a safe zone away from a no-flight zone. So I'm just taking an area somewhere on the coast of Florida, and I'll decide that my home position will be somewhere in this park. So I'm taking the right mouse, click it, and then set my home position here. Right. Once done that, I could zoom in and out. And now let's plan a mission. Prior to fly a drone, I want to have a mission so the drone can follow it using the GPS or the GNSS. The way to do that is you go to plan, and now you basically add waypoints. Each waypoint, so I can move waypoint number 4, for example. Oops. I can move waypoint number 1 and put it back, and you can see whenever it's reddish, then you can move it. Right. So now I have my plan or a set of waypoints ordered in the numbers. So there's 4 waypoints, and I have my home position, and it's a circular path, meaning it starts from the home and it go all the way back through 1, 2, 3, and 4 waypoints, and then all the way back to home position. The height of the flight is all fixed to 100 meters. Again, depends on where you're flying your drone. There are regulations regarding the maximum height allowed. I think in US it's 120 meters. In other places it might be more or less, but keep track on that. Right, so let's assume we want to have a lower height in, say, the first waypoint. I can actually go and change it to be 30 meters. So in a way, oops, again, I change the first to be 30 meters. From the home point, it will go up 30 meters at the height of the first waypoint, and then go directly to the first waypoint. The second waypoint is not 30 meters up, but 100 meters, as you can see in here. So it will, in diagonal, go all the way from the first point to the second point, which is 100 meters up. So the 70 meter climbing would be done through this arc here. I can do a lot of other things. Oh, obviously, I can delete a waypoint. So again, I need it to be reddish. Once reddish, I can delete it. It's kind of surprising the first time you use it, but after you get a practical use of it, then the mission planner is very intuitive. And I can change the mission, or I can change the state. So whenever you get close enough to point number 4, do something else. Do could be interpreted as move to a state, a different, altogether different state machine. Could be circle around, land, fly, do flips, whatever. I want to mention the whitish circles around here. This is the proximity circle. So whenever the drone flies from the first, the home point to the first waypoint, whenever it gets within the circle, it's there. It's not trying to get to the exact position, because otherwise, because the GPS is not as accurate, otherwise it could be chasing it forever. So it just might be that the drone will fly that way. Let's assume I'm very happy with this path. I can save it. So I want to save it because maybe I flew it this morning and I'm very happy with this flight or with this mission, and I want to keep flying it on every Sunday or so. So I'll save it on this meaningful name as 3, and now it's saved. I could upload altogether different path. I already a mission I already programmed, mission number 1, and I will jump to a different area. So this might be tricky because in this case my home position is different. So having a different mission might apply a different home position. My home position is currently on this yacht. Obviously, I'm not owning this yacht, so I might want to move it a little bit. Use of the proximity, and the way you do that is you go to a certain waypoint. So now I'm at waypoint number 1, and you can see my attitude here, but you can also see my proximity. So a proximity would be, instead of I don't know, like 30 meters, let's change it to 10 meters. And now when I add a waypoint, everything shrinks. So decreasing the radius of a waypoint would force a more accurate path of the drone, but it might force the drone to, to somehow search for this accurate positioning. A good positioning could be anywhere between 1 meter to, I don't know, like 10 meter, depends on whatever you want to do. If you're a photographer and you want to follow a very, very accurate path in the forest, you might be shrinking it to a lower radius. But if you just want to, I don't know, survey an area, then this radius could be larger. Another thing, you can put delay. You want to go to a place and then maybe just hover there for a certain time, then you have this delay. The functionality could be, so I have a default attitude, and I can change the functionality. So instead of calling this place a waypoint, let's just start. I can do a land, a takeoff, a delay, some condition delay. So if the my battery is more than 70%, then delay for a minute or so, take photos or so on. But if the battery is less than that, then don't delay. You can do spline. Spline is, instead of having an arc or just a segment between 2 waypoints, you can have it like a roundish kind of geometry. A lot of other things you can do. You can change your coordinate system to GPS, to local, to relative. Again, land and takeoff, as mentioned. Quite a lot of those modes, those states are more, some of those modes are more complicated than others, and some of them require programming. You can actually add your own, and you can program the type of commands you perform with each mode, even if it's your mode or your predefined mode. So instead of saying circle, you can program what is the angular speed of doing some sort of circle. And a lot of photographer drones these days have their own photographic modes already. You can think of, I want to do some kind of spiral maneuver. I want to be flying, and while flying, keep my camera towards some point of interest. So I might add a point of interest, which has nothing to do with the actual geometry of the path, but will be very important to the angle of the camera. I can change the arcs in terms of the speed. So if you just want to go as fast as possible from one point to another, the speed could be, I don't know, like 20 meter per second. But if you want to have it like cinematic or a good video in that path, then you can change it to, I don't know, a few meters a second. So everything is practically there. The azimuth, which meaning what azimuth your camera is aiming, and so on and so forth. Obviously, you can get more complicated than that, but to keep it simple, you have a set of waypoints. You have on each waypoint the type or the state or the mode you want to use. You have a lot of predefined modes, which could be land, fly, loiter, hover, GPS flight, or do some condition as mentioned before. And on between two consecutive waypoints, you can define behavioral type of the drone. As you can see here, there's quite a lot of things you can add. You can add geofencing and a lot of let's add a point of interest. So oops, I'm adding a point of interest here, and let me call it point of interest number 1. And yeah, so now the reddish point is the point of interest. Now I could aim the camera when I get to waypoint number 2, as doing here, to the point of interest. And yeah, so that could be helpful. I could put some conditions on my battery state or the distance. Common enough, a lot of drones these days have this safety feature. Whenever they their battery level is close to the amount of energy required to go home, it just automatically return to home. Or you can add some conditional activities or states, meaning if you lose connectivity to the remote control, maybe you want to go home, or maybe it's part of your plane. I know the drone is going to fly away, and I might my remote control is only I don't know, close enough. Then I want the mission to continue as usual. But keep in mind that most regulations regarding commercial drones require a line of sight and some sort of controlling for that. So you want to have this safety feature of whenever you lose connectivity, return to home.